Mysterious masks worn by multiple characters are frequent appearances throughout Hollow Knight, from the measure of the knight's health in the heads-up display to the seals of the dreamers which the knight seeks to break. The purpose of masks and what effect they have on the wearer have been the topic of much speculation within the Hollow Knight lore community, including a video by CC Mackay, who graciously shared one of my latest videos with his subscribers. I'm here to give my own insight based on my own observations. Let's start with the knight. The masks of their health seem to represent layers of their shell which are broken through when the knight takes damage. When the knight collects mask shards that eventually build themselves into new masks added to the knight's health, these new masks seemingly fuse to the knight's shell to give it new layers. When the last mask or layer is broken through and the knight's health is depleted, the shell itself breaks, releasing the shade within. For most other characters who wear masks, the masks don't seem to be part of their anatomy, but rather are chosen to be worn. The character who gives the most insight as to why one would choose to wear a mask, who can be found wearing several masks themselves, is Mask Maker. According to them, a mask allows its wearer to focus their thoughts. This is confirmed by the Hunter's Journal description of the Weathered Mask, which states that the bearer's thoughts are focused through the crest. Mask Maker also states that a mask will conceal a previously existing mind or personality, and that considerable willpower is required to keep the original personality from disappearing completely. Notably, Mask Maker can be seen wearing a few different masks if the knight visits them multiple times, but Mask Maker's personality doesn't seem to change with each mask, perhaps because they only wear theirs temporarily. Additionally, Mask Maker says that they provide masks for the faceless, probably meaning creatures who don't have a focused mind or intelligence of their own, possibly ones who would otherwise be savage or beasts. A likely example is Midwife, who can open up her mask at will and seemingly discard its effect on her in doing so. Without her mask, she acts aggressive rather than civil. The Pale King's beacon is described as having made bugs more intelligent, but perhaps it didn't affect all creatures, such as the inhabitants of Deep Nest, or they otherwise resisted it and sought a way to sustain their intelligence independently of him. Aside from appearing to be a spider themselves, this could be why Mask Maker's abode and workshop are located in Deep Nest. For creatures who already have a mind, however, why would they choose to wear a mask? For one thing, since Mask Maker claims that a mask conceals the mind, it's possible that some bugs believed a mask would protect them from the infection. At least one mask that appears in the game and beyond seems to have life-sustaining properties, that being Monomon's mask, worn by Quirrel during his travels outside Hallownest and until he returns it to Monomon in order for her seal to be broken. The mask is likely what prevented Quirrel from losing his intelligence while in the Wastes, although he did lose much of his memory, perhaps because the mask was not his own and he did not wear it on his face but rather on top of his head. Once he voluntarily gives up the mask, Quirrel states that he can feel his age. With this in mind, it's possible that the Dreamers donning masks was part of the process of them becoming seals. The Dreamers were placed in some form of suspended animation so that they could sleep indefinitely, and the masks may have been some component in the implementation of that state. For Monomon in particular, she suspended herself in what seems to be some kind of preserving liquid, which may have been why she was able to give her mask to Quirrel as an extra means of protecting her seal. Whether or not the Dreamers wore masks before becoming seals, the masks are heavily implied to be an essential part of the seals, since they appear on the sealed door to the Black Egg and are shown dissolving in the cutscene that plays when the knight breaks one of their seals. When examining masks up close, they appear to have intricate carvings on them. The shape of these carvings somewhat resembles the intricate shapes of seals. Monomon's mask has a protective seal on it, which is made visible in the Quirrel comic when Hornet attempts to strike the mask with her needle. Individual masks also have particular numbers and arrangements of eye holes. The placement of these holes may simply have to do with the number and location of the wearer's eyes, but having holes in different locations could have some connection to which aspects of the wearer's personality are being focused through the mask. One frequent appearance of masks is lining the floors and walls of crypts, from the burial mounds to the tomb tunnels in the resting grounds. It's possible that when a bug is buried, the mask they wore in life is buried with them, or perhaps masks serve some other purpose in burial rites. A possible reason that these masks are seen in piles is that their wearers' remains have long since decayed, but the masks, being made of a sturdier material, do not decay in the same manner or at the same rate. The burial mounds in particular are implied to be from before the time of Hallownest, suggesting that wearing masks is a particularly ancient practice. It was definitely taken part in by the ancient civilization originating from the Abyss, because they are likely the ones who created the masks that the knight can find shards from. Masks also seem to be used to recruit or control individuals of certain societies. With the Grimm troupe, for example, Divine and Brum don't appear to be Grimmkin, so they likely became part of the troupe by being given masks. A secret room in the troupe's tent is full of these masks, which they likely have at the ready in case anyone they encounter during their travels wants to join the troupe. All of the troupe's masks have slit shapes around the eyes, likely representing the slits in the body of the nightmare's heart, which may be its own eyes, and reinforcing the troupe members' connection to it. Interestingly, Divine's mask only seems to cover half of her face. She does seem to have more autonomy than other troupe members, as she has her own tent and is not required to leave Hallownest when the rest of the troupe does unless they are banished. As for Brum, he seems to have also retained some autonomy and self-awareness, as he openly expresses his doubts about the troupe's ritual, at least as it is taking place in Hallownest. If the knight aids him in forcibly banishing the troupe, he reappears just outside the kingdom as Nim, missing his troupe mask and much of his memory. This is likely who he was before he joined the troupe, and being stripped of his mask, he does not remember his time with the troupe nor the identity he took on when he served them. The shape of his former mask can be seen on the carefree melody charm which he gifts to the knight. Charms are described as often coming into being from a bug's dying wish, and Brum choosing to leave the troupe could be described as the death of that identity, which possibly had some part in the charm's creation. Another group of bugs who all have similar looking masks are the fools of the Colosseum. Just like the Grimm troupe recruits bugs by giving them masks, Lord Fool likely did the same to the Colosseum's fighters back when he was still alive. Even though Lord Fool is dead, either the masks still have an effect on their wearers, or it is now the infection driving them to be hostile. The Pale Lurker is different from all other fools because only her mask is white and she is not infected. According to her hunter's journal entry and simple observation of her behavior, she seems to be driven by her obsession with the Pale King, possibly hinting that her mask has indeed lost its effect. The shape and color of her mask is likely an allusion to her affinity for the Pale King. Every instance of masks in the game, as well as each one's details, is deliberate, but the truth about them, like many aspects of the game's lore, can only be speculated. What do you think of the lore of masks in Hollow Knight? Do you agree with my theories and observations? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. I make videos about not only Hollow Knight, but many other pieces of media, and I'd appreciate if you'd check them out, and especially if you'd subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.